The Exiled Lands has a lot of stories, some more obvious than others. However, there are also plenty of stories that are, well, unfinished. Today, I'm going to tell you about them. Also, just in case, spoiler warning for the content ahead. The intertwined story of Mek and Kurak is fairly recent and, well, quite simple. Kurak arrives and brings sorcery into the Exiled Lands. Mek gets the taste for freedom again and decides to investigate, hoping to break the curse wall. He finds out Kurak is a servant of Nyarlathotep, sends the exile to kill him, then tries to use Kurak's head for a ritual, until Conan arrives and relieves Mek of his own cranium. Still alive, his head is now in a basket at the spire, where he's sent his mercenaries to find a new body. And that's the way it's been for over a year. The story of Mek finding a new body is a pretty obvious dangling thread for the future, especially in a sort of Age of Sorcery redux. Kurak himself still has some unanswered questions even though he's dead, especially about the reveal of him being a Serpent Man. I expect this story will get picked up again at some point later down the road. Following directly on, the story of the princess is tied directly to the story of Mek, at least so far. She's kidnapped by Mek for the ritual and is then saved by Conan after the latter dealt with the sorcerer. She returns to the waterside tavern with Conan and will tell the exile that she's a foreign princess, whose father sold her to Toth Amon to settle his debts. She then says that she'll follow Conan for now, but since the Age of War Chapter 1 it seems she's just followed him in standing around at the waterside tavern. There's clearly more for her in the future, but that hasn't manifested yet. Anyway, if she does follow Conan, she may not be the only one. Razma of Shem's story is like a 99% complete. She arrives to the Exiled Lands, Conan frees her, journals tell you of what happened to her before she meets us, and then we save her from the Witch Queen's mask and she decides she'll leave and travel with Conan. The only problem is, much like the princess and Conan himself, she never actually leaves. Day in, day out, she stays at home. Alone. Relatable. After her quest, Razma doesn't really have anything to offer aside from lore dialogue, although it is good dialogue. She also never takes the final step to journey off with Conan, even if it's something that happens off-screen and then she comes back. Truth be told, I don't really expect that to change. She's been in the house for so many years at this point that I think it'd be kind of weird if she left, unless it progresses the story of a new age. This story is far more obscure, and one that I think is intended to be worked out by us. The Kinscourge had children with Telith, one of which is definitely Zalthar, and the other one may have been a daughter named Zaltana. I'll link a more in-depth video about this topic in the card in the top right. After the Kinscourge locks himself in the Black Keep, Telith and the children pretty much disappear from the history books. It can be assumed that Telith died on Telith's island and is buried at Imi's cradle, though that area raises even more questions, and Zalthar at some point seems to have visited the Well of Skelos, but what else actually happened? There is circumstantial evidence that Zalthar and Zaltana ended up becoming Zaltotan, High Priest of Set, and Zaltana the Witch Queen of Acheron. This evidence is mostly theory work, but Zalthar and most certainly Zaltana clearly have unfinished stories in terms of what happened to them after the Kinscourge's battle with his father. If anything, I'm almost more interested in Zaltana. We don't even know that her name is actually Zaltana, or that she's even a female. All we know from the single item description of the Tears of Two Races is that the Kinscourge had children, not just a single child. The story of Toth Amon and the Serpent Ring of Set is borderline cut content, however there is still a small string of this tale in-game. Warmaker MacLeod tells the exile about Toth's arrival in the unnamed city, alongside his subsequent theft of the Serpent Ring of Set. The essence of the Serpent Ring is in the game, but is only accessible through the admin panel, and would have originally dropped from the Mummy of the Ring, who presumably would have been an agent of Toth Amon. Part of the old journey system used to mention this, but that was cut in the Age of Sorcery, and now the Serpent Ring of Set is an unfinished story that will likely never be rectified, as aside from Clael and the Archivist, all of the mentions and story strands have been cut. Finally, a fan favourite, the Amber Bracelets. One of the first friendly NPCs you can run into in the Exiled Lands is Arcos the Wanderer, who has been here a long time. He'll tell you that he once saw men beyond the curse wall bearing bracelets with gems of amber. And that's about it. Nothing or nobody else seems to mention them, and the story ends there. This one is particularly annoying because it leads to so many different questions, and every time I've personally tried to work it out, I've come up empty-handed. I can't find any mention of amber gems anywhere, really. The closest I got was The Seven Geshes by Clark Ashton Smith, but nothing that specifically pointed at amber gems. The story of the Amber Bracelets is just this dangling thread that has been there for years. It's primed to be picked up and ran with at some point, but it's been this way for so long that I'm not convinced it will ever change. And there we have it, all of the unfinished stories I could find on the Exiled Lands. I didn't include a lot of the stuff based mostly around cut content like Tellith's Ghost, or things that are meant to be a bit more nebulous like the Disjunction, or that strange inaccessible cave beneath the unnamed city. There's still loads of mysteries aside from what I've covered here, alongside minor characters whose stories are not necessarily unfinished but could continue. I'll likely end up covering some of those in future individual lore videos. However, if I've missed out on any of the unfinished stories of the Exiled Lands, do let me know in the comments. Hope you've all enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and of course a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel yourself, check out the Patreon through the link in the description or pinned comment, or join as a member here on YouTube by clicking join just below this video. Take care, and I'll see you soon.